Hello and welcome to This Week in Laker Football. It's your exclusive weekly look into the West Bloomfield Lakers varsity football team. We'll talk about the previous week's game, preview the game coming up, and get to know our players and our coaches a little bit better. I'm Tyler Kieft alongside West Bloomfield head coach Zach Hilbers. Lakers coming off a 41-19 victory last week at Birmingham Groves. And coach, it was an electric performance on the offensive side of the ball. It looked like your team, outside of maybe the first couple of drives, getting to know that Groves defense, really had their way with Groves last week on the road. What was the difference maker between your team being able to really open up the entirety of its offense in week 2 versus the passing game being key against Chippewa Valley in week 1?
Well, I guess that was also part of our focus is after week 1, I thought we threw the ball okay. We didn't run it good enough, so we really tried to emphasize that during the week. And we knew Groves was really good, and I still think they're a really good football team. And for us to kind of go and start the game the way we did, I told the kids I was really proud of them because we kind of challenged them. That sometimes you win an emotional game like you do week 1 right down to the wire. You feel like you're on cloud 9, but that team week 2 doesn't care about any of that stuff, you know what I mean? So they really showed up and executed our game plan well.
And much like week 1, a lot of players got involved on the offensive side, making big plays. We saw a couple of touchdowns from Elijah Durham, a couple also from Kamren Flowers on the ground. Marquise Morris getting more involved in the air game in week 2, and Rick Nance, the quarterback, being able to spread the football around a lot. Was that part of the game plan or just the execution that your 3-year starting quarterback and these highly talented receivers and other skill position players were able to make happen?
I guess it's both. Rick did a really good job executing. Early in the first quarter, he kind of took a weird hit to his knee where he kind of sprained it. It hurt his mobility some, and the doctor said he was fine, but, he just couldn't run like he used to or like he normally does, so we had to, switch some things up. But also we think we're really deep in terms of talent and playmakers, and the more we get these guys the ball and kind of showcase what they can do, I think the harder it makes us to defend as a team and as an offensive unit. And to be honest, those guys really stepped up and did their jobs, but I think we got a few more kids too that can really kind of take another step and show what they can do also.
We saw a lot of players playing off of the second string last week, coming up and getting some good reps. A lot of plays also being made in the special teams front. Was that a bit of a surprise this week to have so many plays being made in special teams against a very veteran special teams front in Groves versus a younger one on your side?
I don't know if we worked on them all, so I don't know if it was a surprise because we practiced each of them, and we actually had a couple that we didn't end up running just because of the game flow and the look we got wasn't exactly what we thought it would be. But it's always a surprise when I guess multiple of those things work. You hope to get one here or there, and we ended up getting a couple, which is great. But we also still, I think we dropped one kickoff when we were on kick return, and we had one that we were a little bit lucky. We should have waited for a fair catch, and we didn't. And we got an illegal touching, but, had their kid and just not tipped the ball, we would have given that up. So, for all the good things we showed on some of the units, there's still some stuff to clean up too.
Yeah, one of the things that was definitely different from week 1 to week 2 was a lot more penalties across the board. Was that more of the way that Groves was playing, their physical style coming into play and the motions getting into it, or do you believe that was an issue that kind of popped up for your team in week 2 you weren't expecting?
That definitely plays a factor into it. And also, some of them were just honestly weird penalties. First 2 weeks, if at home we don't have a play clock in the end zone, so the officials keep the play clocks on the field. And when you play at week 1 at Wayne State had a play clock, Groves had a play clock with different people running them, and at a high school game, so it's a roundabout way to say the play clock started a little early multiple times for us. So we're getting 20 seconds to get our substitutes in and a play called, and as opposed to the 25 that we're supposed to get. And I think that happened a couple times where we got delayed games. That being said, if we're a little bit cleaner and crisper, those 5 seconds shouldn't matter. We still got to get better at that and get better with our communication and knowing where to line up so that type of stuff doesn't happen. But there's differences week to week that, I think kind of attributed to some of those things also.
Lakers ultimately winning 41-19 last week on the road, their second consecutive road game to start the season at Birmingham Groves, playing an OAA power in the Falcons. And this week you start your OAA Red Division schedule against Stoney Creek. We'll talk about that later on. But one last thing was really impressive last week was the blocking, both in the trenches and especially up the field. And against a team like Groves and against teams in the OAA Red Division, oftentimes those games are going to be won in the trenches. So how impressed were you with particularly the upfield blocking, but also the way that this younger offensive line was able to take control against a very veteran Falcons D-line.
Yeah, they really stepped up. Our O-line coach, JP Moore, has done an awesome job, and like the young kids that have gotten more reps are getting better and better, and our 2 senior returning starters, they're really like us leading us, and that we expected that from them, and Alex Walton and Jamar Johnson, just great kids that do kind of everything right. So we were hoping to see a step up there, and we did, and our receivers and our running backs, like they blocked their butts off, and you mentioned the penalties earlier. Anytime we get a receiver blocking penalty 20 yards downfield, we don't want them, but we're okay with that, because 1, that means that we have the ball 20 yards downfield, and 2, that means our kids are given effort 20 yards down the field when they don't have the ball. And we call those effort penalties that, again, we don't want, but they're happening as a result of our kids giving max effort. So we'll work with it and we'll clean some things up. So, like, honestly, they were awesome. Like, Elijah Durham had a couple great blocks. Shaden Allos did. Josh Tate, Nigel Dutton. Like, those guys, like, when they don't have the ball, they sell out.
And lastly, we'd be remiss not to speak about the play of the defense also. This is a Groves offense that scores often, with their physicality. They're great in the run game. They have a ton of talent in the receiving game, much like your team have a veteran quarterback that's great at making plays. What was the difference maker for that defense this week in being able to really shut down, for the most part, that Falcons offense?
Well, we were opportunistic, I think, and part of the special teams help with that, got them out of rhythm from what they wanted to do. And when you jump up a little bit on a team like Groves, it gets them out of their run and play action game just a little bit. I mean, they still stuck with it, and they got some touchdowns there and had some good play calls off of their run game that gave us some trouble. So we got some stuff we got to work on with our eye discipline in the secondary. But you're right. I mean, their quarterback's really good. Their O-line's pretty physical, and our guys stepped up to the challenge.
After the win on Thursday last week, the Lakers have taken 7 of the last 12 matchups against Birmingham Groves, dating back to 2003, or back in the days when a certain someone was playing against those Falcons on the field at Birmingham Groves and here at West Bloomfield as well. Coach, any lasting thoughts from last week's game?
I just thought it was like a good second step, so to say. If you can, after 2 weeks, win 2 games and also see like, hey, this is going well, but we got to really focus on this and clean that up. Like, we're pretty lucky to be in that position where like we can get better and still do enough to win. So our focus is going to be to continue to fix our mistakes and try to be a little bit better each week.
Lakers looking to open OAA Red Division play with a win and go into the bulk of the middle of their schedule undefeated at 3-0, hopefully this week after the game concludes against Rochester Hills, Stoney Creek. The Cougars are coming into town on Friday. It is a 7 o'clock kickoff right after Family Fun Night, and kids, you can get in for free by wearing your West Bloomfield Spirit wear. Our coverage will begin with this show at 6 o'clock, and the Laker pregame show with Matt Catoni and I begins at 6:30 before kickoff at 7. We'll take a break on This Week in Laker Football. On the other side, we'll talk to a 100-yard rusher responsible for a couple of those touchdowns last week on the road at Falcon Field, and then come back later on and preview this week's game against Rochester Hills, Stoney Creek. Stay tuned. You're watching and listening to This Week in Laker Football. That kickoff is muffed. Diving for it at the 20, and now West Bloomfield gets on top of it. And the Lakers are going to take over again. The luck on the kickoff last time went toward Birmingham Groves and got ripped away on a penalty. And this time, the hero is with West Bloomfield, and it is the senior, Bryce Parker, diving on that ball. And the Lakers, another opportunity.
Hey guys, it's me, Isabella Gomez, filling in for Smokey Bear because he's got more to say than just...
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Like, if you're outside enjoying a barbecue, don't let a hamburger distract you from fire safety. Make sure you aren't dumping your hot coals or ashes onto the ground because that could start a wildfire. So take wildfire prevention seriously and let's save the world one day at a time. Juntos con Smokey Bear, podemos hacerlo. Go to smokeybear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Watch West Bloomfield Lakers football all season long on 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV. Join Tyler Kieft and Matt Catoni each week for live, in-depth, and exclusive coverage before, during, and after the big game. It's your local high school football team on the road and in your backyard on your home for West Bloomfield Laker football, Civic Center TV, and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football, your exclusive look weekly into every single game and previewing the next game of the West Bloomfield Lakers. I'm joined now by West Bloomfield athlete Kamren Flowers. Kamren, in your first season in West Bloomfield, coming into this program, what were you excited to get into with the Lakers, knowing the history of this program in recent years and some of the athletes they've been able to elevate to the next level?
Yeah, I was very excited, joining the Laker Nation, just joining the legacy that West B has, and I just want to represent on my behalf and make everybody proud.
Kamren's in his first season so far. Just last week, against Groves, 137 all-purpose yards on the offensive side, 126 of those on the ground. What was the difference maker in that game versus Chippewa Valley for your team in particular, getting up the field and in particular in the run game?
Yeah, for sure. First week it was kind of bumpy. I dropped a pass or whatever. But I just got back in the gym. I worked on what I need to work on. And they'll just find a way to use my speed and be able to give me the ball, and that's what happened.
And then on the offensive side of the ball, Elijah Durham made a really interesting comment on Twitter earlier on this week. I posted a highlight about one of the team's scoring plays in the receiving game. He mentioned the upfield blocking was really excellent this week and set up wide receivers like himself for a couple touchdowns and yourself for a touchdown in the rushing game. Was that something that your team had worked on in between Chippewa Valley and Groves? And what changed in game number 2?
Yeah, no doubt. In Chippewa Valley, we passed the ball a lot. We didn't really have an efficient run game, so that's when we went back to the chalkboard. And, me and the wide receiver room, we're very close, we're very tight, and, we're a brotherhood. So we want to go out there, we want to see each other win, we want to see each other score, so we're going to put that extra effort to go in and block and help each other.
Kamren Flowers in the Laker number 6, you'll see him playing wide receiver as well as running back and a number of other positions. A true athlete for this West Bloomfield team. 126 yards on the ground last week, including a couple of touchdowns for the Lakers in their 41-19 victory over Birmingham Groves. And Kamren, doing some research on you, knowing your past before you came to West Bloomfield, you're also a prolific player on the track. And so how do those two sports kind of coincide one another and help you, both football on the track field and opposite side on the track to the football field?
Yeah, speed, it's a lot. It does a lot for you on the football field, I set the school record just this past season for track and field, and it helps. They can't teach speed, and when you can run by people, it's your best trump card.
It's your first season on the team, Kamren, but you're an upperclassman. You have experience playing football at a high level in the state of Michigan. You know what it takes to be a competitive player on the field in the Great Lakes state. So how are you translating that to your first season on the Lakers and still in a leadership role despite it being your first season with the team?
Yeah, no doubt. I know I'm new, so I try to fit in at first, like where I can, and I know what it takes to win. I was at that level at Ann Arbor Huron, and so I just want to put in my 2 cents and be able to lead when I can and be anywhere that they need me on the field.
Over 500-yard all-purpose player at Huron a season ago, and looking to have a similar performance, already well on his way this season with 126 yards on the ground, another 11 in the air for the Lakers last week in their 41-19 victory over Birmingham Groves. Kamren, we also like to get to know some of our team off the field. That's one of the purposes of the show. So outside of the game of football and, of course, track and other sports that you play, what are some of your interests?
Yeah, no doubt. Me and my teammate Blake, we do a lot of roller skating on the weekends. We go to roller skating. I do a lot of building computers, and I do a lot of shoe reselling in my off time.
A lot of different interests for this team. Help them also on the football field, recognize some changes, have the hand-eye coordination and other athletic abilities as well. Kamren, anything else, any other thoughts for your team going forward as you look forward to Week 3, beginning OAA Red Division play against Stoney Creek, and look forward to what looks like it's going to be an excellent season for the Lakers?
Yeah, just week by week, we're taking it slow. We're going to put that work in, and we're going to win each week all the way to the state championship.
Kamren Flowers, West Bloomfield running back, wide receiver, and athlete, joining us on This Week in Laker Football. We'll take a break. On the other side, we'll preview this week's upcoming game. Stoney Creek coming to town. It's the home opener, one of only 3 home games for the Lakers during the regular season this year, and the opener of their OAA Red Division play. That game will kick off at 7 o'clock on Friday night. Family fun night here at West Bloomfield High School beginning at 5 o'clock, and our coverage of Laker football will begin about 6 o'clock with this show, followed by the Laker pregame show with Matt Tony and I at 6:30. We'll take a break. On the other side, Coach Hilbers will join us once again. Stay tuned. You're watching This Week in Laker Football. Snap to Flowers, gonna roll to his left side, skips up the middle, wide open field, here he goes again. Track meet for the track star, touchdown, WB.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those barbecues you plan in detail for your family? Or your daughter's first costume party? It was out of this world. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
Well, I got my start in officiating when a friend told me I should try it. At first I just did basketball, and I got hooked. Before long, I added baseball, softball, football, and volleyball. I really enjoyed giving back to the game, working with kids, and working with my local association to recruit and train new officials. I would like to say to anybody that officiating is a great way to help kids and stay connected to the game. We always need new officials. There's help wanted, just listen.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football, your exclusive weekly look into all things varsity football here in West Bloomfield. I'm Tyler Kieft, joined alongside head coach Zach Hilbers on Civic Center TV, 89.3 Lakes FM, and across local social media. Coach, coming into this week, you're going to be opening your OAA Red Division play, one of your few home games this season. Speak to that opportunity that you have to really make an impact in the OAA early in the season, but also the need for this game to be well executed and won because of the majority of your schedule being on the road.
Yeah, it's a tough schedule. Like, play a lot of really good opponents, and like you said, with only 3 scheduled home games. And I told the kids at the end of practice, like, if we're not excited for this, I don't know what to tell you. Your home opener, your league opener, like, we just got to go out there and bring everything and get it done.
Nothing's more fun on Family Fun Night than a Laker victory, and they're hoping to come out victorious against Stoney Creek, a team that last year you were able to beat, but also gave you a lot of challenges on particularly the defensive side of the ball because they have such a mobile offense, such a speed-centric offense, but they did lose a lot of senior leadership on that team. What should we be looking out for with Stoney Creek in 2023-24?
So you're right. They had a lot of kids that were really good seniors last year that are not there anymore. But their style and their physicality are still the same. They got one of the better O-linemen in Oakland County, maybe the state. He plays guard for him. He's going to University of Toledo. He's a really, really good player. They're just physical. They want to possess the football, and they hurry up to the line, get ready, and sometimes they'll snap it quick, and sometimes they'll hurry up and do a check with me and wait 40 seconds and kind of possess the ball and hold the clock. And what that lets them do is it kind of keeps you on your toes as a defense. So I told the guys, like, yeah, you look at the final score last year, we ended up pulling away from these guys, but we watched the film, 3 minutes to halftime, we were winning 7-3, and we had the ball for 3 plays. That was it, 3 plays, and we were 3 minutes to halftime. So, like, you have to really, I guess, be disciplined and, like, keep your head in the game because they're gonna play mental games with you with just how their style of play.
And it's important to be able to keep in control of the pace of the game. Something that's been a big difference for the Lakers so far this season is it seems like your offense has been able to sustain drives a little bit further, give the defense that resting time, and especially against a team like Stoney Creek that likes to march down the field quickly and score. That, I would imagine, would play a big factor in game planning and in preparation for this sort of a game.
Yeah, absolutely. And big explosive offensive plays are great, but it keeps your defense on the field more. So, like, we're going to take them when we get them, for sure. And that's what happened against Stoney last year, is that they would have a 16-play drive, and we returned a punt. And then they got the ball back right again and went on like a 20-play drive and scored. And then we had an explosive offensive play, and they have the ball again. So, I mean, for what it's worth, like that style they play, it kind of gets in your head, like I said, and makes you want to change up. But you've got to be really disciplined. If you get them off the field as a defense and get a couple scores up on them, it makes that style a lot harder to play, right? But we got to be in control of the game and not let them dictate the tempo.
Coach Zach Hilbers with us on This Week in Laker Football. The Lakers taking on Stoney Creek at West Bloomfield High School on Friday to kick off at 7 o'clock. And our coverage with the Laker pregame show beginning at 6:30. And This Week in Laker Football will be re-airing at 6 o'clock before that. Coach, the first two games of the season, both on Thursday, so regular schedule, so to speak, minus with the difference being the day that you're playing the game. But this week, you get the extra day of rest playing on a Friday after a Thursday game. How does that play into how your team prepares for that game, both in having that extra rest, I'd imagine, is quite key, but also having that extra day to really refine your game plan?
Yeah, it gives you another day to like watch their stuff and make sure that you're positive in what they're trying to do to you and what we want to do to try to attack them, which is nice. And it also gets us on a little bit more of a regular schedule. And playing on Thursday, we had to bump everything up a day and start our game prep and our install on Saturday, which you just feel disjointed from the game. Where now it's like we are working all week towards Friday, and I don't know, maybe in my brain it's a little bit easier, and hopefully in the kids it is too.
Coach, any lasting thoughts as we move on from the Groves game on to Stoney Creek on Friday, or things we should be looking out for from your team going forward?
I just hope that we bring energy and excitement, because this league is really difficult and it's challenging, and we get to, like I said, come out here and play our first game at home, and I know the kids will be excited, and I hope the atmosphere is as good as it usually is at Family Fun Night, because it's a pretty cool, special day.
Yeah, 3 big games for the Lakers, and there are only 3 home games this season. Stony Creek kicks it off a couple weeks from now. It's another Rochester area team, and Rochester Adams coming into town, and finally the penultimate game of the season against Southfield A&T at Laker Stadium at the Swamp. The Lakers kick off Friday at 7 o'clock against the Stony Creek Cougars at West Bloomfield High School. Our coverage will begin at 6 o'clock with This Week in Laker Football and the Laker pregame show at 6:30. It's also Family Fun Night. If you want to come out to the high school from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, games just outside of the stadium, and kids get into the game for free if they're wearing their West Bloomfield School District Spirit wear. More information on WBSD.org. For the entire West Bloomfield Lakers football team and our team at Civic Center TV, I'm Tyler Kieft, thanking you for tuning in once again to This Week in Laker Football.